What is the central idea of the little owls that live underground? In this lesson, you will learn to determine the central idea of a text by determining the topic and asking what the author says about it. So let's review. We've read The Little Owls That Live Underground. It's an article. It's written by John Moyer. It's nonfiction, it's informational, and it was published on Smithsonian.com. Moyer uses facts, anecdotes, and interviews to convey his message about the owl. He uses a lot of different techniques, and it's not structured in linear order, which makes this passage particularly interesting. We know that before we dive into a passage, all good readers think about the central idea. And the central idea is what the text is mostly about. It's the big idea. What is the text mostly about? And as great readers, we need to know that central idea in order to dive deeper into our analysis. In order to do that, we're going to follow 3 steps. First, we're going to ask who or what is the text about. Next, we're going to ask what does the author say about it. Finally, we're going to prove our central idea by showing how it is supported in the text. So let's review some criteria for a strong central idea before we look for it. 1, it's going to contain the topic of the text. So what is the text mostly about? 2, it's going to contain the author's main point about the topic. And finally, it's going to summarize what the text is mostly about. So in that third one, we just go back and say, with our topic and the main point, did we summarize the whole thing? So first we need to ask who or what is the text about. So let's look at the first page, and I'm just going to do some quick highlights. The little owls I see in the title, burrowing owls in the blurb, and I see this short story about Jack Barclay, and he's also talking about the owls, so let's make some notes. So it seems to be mostly about burrowing owls, right? And I see this is included in the title, and I see the example study, the facts throughout. It talks about endangered species lists, and all of these stories about different communities, and they're all about burrowing owls. So looking at my first page and looking throughout the text, I can say it's mostly about burrowing owls. So my topic, that first step, is that the text is mostly about burrowing owls. So now I need to ask, what does the author say about it? So let's take a look. I'm going to go ahead and read just the first paragraph here. In recent decades, as agricultural development and urbanization have spread across Western North America, the once numerous burrowing owl has declined in vast areas of the Great Plains and Canada. Going into the second, the burrowing owl is now listed as endangered in Canada, threatened in Mexico, and a national bird of conservation concern in the United States. So I went ahead and I'm going to highlight this first paragraph. It talks about they are declining, and here's why: agricultural development and urbanization. Also talking about it being endangered in different areas. So what about the burrowing owl? We're seeing it's facing habitat destruction. Its status has become endangered in a lot of different places. So let's continue to ask, what does John Moyer, the author, say about it? So what about them? He talks about the number of owls in various places. He talks about habitat destruction, both generally and specifically in California. He talks about conservation efforts, again, on a national level and also in California. And he talks about the simplicity around saving the owl, both broadly and using examples. So I can say that John Moyer is saying his main point is that the burrowing owl can and should be saved. So let's go ahead and jot down our central idea. So our central idea is that burrowing owls are unique creatures whose environment and livelihood can and should be protected. Right? I have my topic, burrowing owls. What about them? They're interesting creatures. Their environment can and should be protected. So in order for my central idea to be good, I need to ask the question, can I prove it with evidence? That's a key part of a good central idea. So I'm going to zoom in here on the title and the blurb. The blurb says, burrowing owls can thrive amid agricultural development and urbanization, so why are they imperiled? So I went ahead and highlighted this because I can make a couple inferences. 1, I can infer that he thinks the owls are interesting, right? I can infer it because he's writing about them and because of how he does this. They can thrive. Using that word thrive, right, implies a degree of interest. And I can also infer that Moyer's question is illustrating his belief that the owl are both worth saving and can be saved. He's asking, why are they imperiled? What's the problem here? And so I can infer that he thinks they're important and he thinks they should be saved. Diving deeper into the text and still asking, can I prove it with evidence? Looking at the second paragraph here, protecting the bird's habitat is the type of effort that Barclay thinks is needed. Without a commitment of political will, we will likely continue to monitor the owl's decline and disappearance, he said. This is a bird we should be able to accommodate even in the face of development. The challenge is not whether it can be done, but rather to figure out how to do it. So again, I see that Moyer is using someone else's opinion. He uses it throughout. The owls are worth saving to support his own central idea. Not only are they worth saving, but we just need to figure it out. It's not too hard. So let's go ahead and answer our text-dependent question. What is the central idea of the little owls that live underground? So the central idea of the little owls that live underground is that burrowing owls are unique creatures whose environment and livelihood can and should be protected. I know this is the central idea because Moyer states his beliefs at the beginning of the text, and he uses an anecdote at the end that reaffirms his claim. You'll notice we went through 3 steps to get the central idea. We asked who or what is the text about to determine the topic. 2, we asked what does the author say about it. And 3, we proved our central idea by showing how it is supported in the text. In this lesson, you have learned to determine the central idea of a text by determining the topic and asking what does the author say about it.